Hey there, welcome to episode 25 of the Quaggling Sand audio program. I'm your host, Dan Hugo. Today, I'm recording this on Monday, April 29, 2024. Normally I release these on Wednesday, so I'm getting a jump. Busy week ahead. Today's episode is about my antisocial progress report. It has been a few months now, or years, since I really got away from the social media, the big ones. You know the names. Though actually it has been years for Facebook. How did I get into all of this so many years ago, and what led me to want to get back to the old ways? It's not me, it's you. A reminder that the Quaggling Sand audio program is named for my term that I coined somewhere around age 4, give or take, for what you might call pins and needles. Quaggling sand, that return of sensation to a limb that has been that has lost circulation for a bit. So as the feeling returns, the pins and needles or quaggling sand, almost like when you think about stuff and your head begins to tingle, or is that just me? So yeah, the antisocial thing, I've kind of stepped away from most of the old school social media, at least as far as proactive engagement. Let's get to those links as usual. First two, you know what they are. buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo, the profile page on which I jot down my various projects, how to find them, where to find them. I include my GitHub links, their audio program links, presently as I'm speaking today, pointing to the Spotify for Podcasters profile pages. Those are, I don't even know what to say anymore. Spotify took over Anchor, and it could be going better. I actually had to have a conversation via chat at something like 1 o'clock. I think it was 1 o'clock in the morning. So kudos to them for being available, but they need to be available because they're I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they do. I was trying to edit a feed link, and you cannot edit feed links. They have to edit them. So you just have to fire up a chat window and tell someone to edit an HTML form field for you. I don't even know what to say about that. That will figure into my FFS Talk audio program episode 23 this week, though. And you can find that link with the other ones to those shows on the buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo page. You are under no obligation to buy anybody coffee, though you can if you want to. But it's a convenient location to put all those links. I will grow my efforts to be findable, make it easier to actually do that. But I've had this page forever. Why not? As well, coffee.com, ko-fi.com/DanHugo, same thing. Less information, but once I actually do the website stuff, which I've been talking about for too long. I did a whole episode of Cafe Genius Impresarios last week. 61, 63, 61, one of those. Starting a startup in Vegas. It's capturing content creators like myself so that we are more easily discovered. As part of the plan, we shouldn't have to rely on Spotify or Apple iTunes. Certainly shouldn't have to depend on Google Podcasts. Not even Google does that. I've also thrown in there my bio link, danhugo.bio.link. It has the same information. I think it points to my Flickr page also and my About Me page, but it also has the links to the podcast shows. I grabbed the bio link to stick in Twitter and Instagram, link in bio. That's what those are for. Linktree, bio.link. There are many of these now. I guess if I had an OnlyFans page, I would throw that in there as well. I've included once again the Cory Doctorow article in which he coins the phrase, and I've edited it for podcast cleanliness. In poopification, you can replace one 4-letter word with another. In poopification, he was talking about TikTok, I believe. The Potemkin AI article from January of 2023. So I've linked to that. Again, I've linked to it several times. It's one of the things that makes social media, especially the old ones that have been around long enough to fully embrace and extend in poopification. So I've linked that again. Give it a read if you've never heard of what I'm talking about or if you've forgotten. I have a link to Posse, publish on your own servers, syndicate everywhere or elsewhere. I think I've seen both and I've said both. On indieweb.org/POSSE, Posse. It is the way to go. Publish your own stuff. Self-publish, own your content, syndicate it on YouTube, on Facebook if you want. If your content goes away on Facebook, did your content go away or is it just not available on Facebook? Own your masters, as they say, referring to music. Taylor Swift will tell you, you should own your own music. Own the masters to your music so you can always do what you want with them, even if you have to re-record them. So in that case, you'd be recreating your content if it disappears from Facebook, right? Own your own content. I've linked to the semantic web, I think, and I'm not the only one, apparently. I had read about this a long time ago, and it is indeed what Web 3.0, not to be confused with Web 3. Web 3.0 is indeed a re-embracing of the semantic web. The semantic web has a perhaps arguably better thought out scheme for connecting things, defining, describing. I think if you're a fan of schema.org, some of that kind of figures into there. I personally think that RSS feeds should be deprecated in favor of something like a schema.org markup. Some you can call it RDFA, but if you can use a human readable content instead of an XML file for RSS, make it embed your attributes into the HTML. They can do it with the JSON LD for schema.org markup, and they do have a schema for a podcast series and for a podcast episode, I think, are the item types. So it could be done. Why have a separate RSS feed? Just use a sitemap and point to the current episode files. It'll handle rich text correctly, etc. So yeah, semantic web. I've become a fan once again of Dope and Fof, description of a project and friend of a friend for project and contributor discovery, etc., etc. So there are better ways. There are better ways to do things than putting all your content on Facebook and crossing your fingers. I've also linked to a book that I have not read yet, but I will. Jonathan Haidt, Haidt, has been making the rounds, which he has. I've seen him on a podcast or, video podcast, I guess. I don't know what people call it now. I guess it's video blogs, vlogs, but you have multiple people sitting on couches talking to each other. So now it's a video podcast. Either way, I've seen Jonathan making some appearances recently, probably in relation to the anxious generation. That's a partial title. There's a colon and a lot of words after it. So I have a Goodreads link to the anxious generation. It's basically about how when the internet arrived, that was fine. But then when social media and everybody gets a phone combined, and everything went south. So he has a lot of interesting data and analysis and assessment. He's a fan of bringing back the flip phone. Parents who are concerned about their kids should be able to reach their kids on a flip phone and call them or send them a text message. But the absolute destruction of society thanks to the likes of Instagram, basically everything Facebook does is horrible. TikTok is just as bad. There are many problems. So it's an interesting topic. It's a book that I have on my to-do list. I've been reading. I finished Battlefield Earth and Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged recently. So that was a lot. So I'm rereading Risk by Michael Tannenbaum, and then I will jump into the anxious generation. Those Gen Z, millennials or Gen Z? I think it's millennials are in there too. I unfortunately am Gen X, so I can only watch and shake my head. But I've also come to the conclusion that social media is not good for us either. So I've been proactively avoiding in my anti-social efforts Anti-social networks. Not anti-dash social. This is just against. I'm against, I'm no longer a fan of, if I ever was, social media, social networking. So in the beginning, how did I get on this crazy thing so I could get off this crazy thing? I joined MySpace, was I think the first social network that I actually joined. I did not try Orkut or Friendster. I don't think I ever even, I don't remember even trying to sign up for them. I might have, but I never really used them or made use of them, so I probably didn't even really sign up. So I will claim that MySpace was my first social network. Yeah, lucky me and Tom, buddies from the start. At some point, especially because I was in Silicon Valley from 1993 onward. So if a new social network, social platform, whatever came out, got to sign up, get my name so I could have the same name across all the platforms. The newest thing, got to test it out, see what it does. What are they doing differently? Is that cool? I remember Twitter. Of course, Twitter was launched at South by Southwest, and the text message, the SMS message element of the size constraint was interesting to me. And Twitter started out so simply to let people know what's up. It was absolutely sucked up into the world of mobile vending, food trucks, as a way to engage your customers with quick messages. And when they used to support geotagging, and you could put a little map, that worked out well. So that was high utility. Probably, I'm going to argue that Twitter was actually a fairly useful take, and it of course devolved into a political nightmare of trolling and sniping and doxing and worse, far worse. So in the simple days when you could just post where your food truck was and your other food truck colleagues and tag them and maybe make a map out of it, keeping it simple, that was fine. But yeah, I had to get the name across all the platforms, so I signed up for a lot of stuff. A lot of them died. A lot of them just went away on their own, so I didn't have to deal with that. I joined Facebook when it was the Facebook. I got an invite from Hoken, I think is his name, Zach Smith, one of the co-founders of RepRap, which later went on to be MakerBot, and he went on to be rich. So I met him somewhere in his travels in California. He invited me to join the Facebook, which I did. I don't even know if we're still connected. I don't know if he would care either way, but that was my entry into the Facebook. I had my Harvey Mudd email address back then, though Harvey Mudd undid all that, so it was a fleeting option at the time. I cannot really, I have a hard time saying this, apparently. I voted when it came out, not a technical vote, but there was going to be a sort of homespun, or I think it was a startup that a person from my college had co-founded or was an early employee at, that was building sort of not custom, but sort of purpose-built for alumni of colleges social network. But it was essentially Facebook groups. So Facebook groups was a little bit more polished and it integrated into everything. So I was like, Facebook groups seems like it's a little bit easier to deal with. So my opinion that I threw, I don't know if it was a formal vote, like I said, but it was certainly a time when a decision was to be made, and I sided with the Facebook side, and I have lived to regret that. So unfortunately, I was possibly a part of that awful decision. Probably the platform that we were going to go with died. I mean, I can't imagine. It was not great. So we were completely selfish and did not support a fellow grad. We were horrible. I joined LinkedIn in August 2003. They launched in May of 2003. So I was there for almost the whole time. At the 20-year mark, August of 2023, I announced on LinkedIn that it had been too long, 20 years, and it's only gotten worse. It's only gotten more and more awful. So I spent the 2023 posting on the first of each month, my little dude running for the exit with a green background, and then the last 4 posts, the last 3 months, and then January 1st were red background, and I was announcing every month, no more LinkedIn direct messages, no more posting. If you want to find me, send me an email or meet up in person, etc. So I have been very happily distanced from LinkedIn. I maintain a LinkedIn account for the social graph, for the network, for my fellow alum, my former colleagues at various companies, etc. But I don't post there. There is a Innovate for Vegas Foundation page, so we have a media manager to post things. I do. And by the way, we get no engagement, so that will go away eventually, I think, when our platform reaches some level of usability. I do something similar with Cafe Genius, but otherwise, there's really no point. There's no engagement. There's no return on the time invested. So LinkedIn to me has become an AI megaphone. People post merely to get ranked by the algorithm so that people will see their posts, but I don't really see much value. A lot of pontificating, a lot of, write once. Write only. So people are just posting. I don't really see any high value conversations. And as well, I think too much political dalliance. You are supposed to be able to disable, like I prefer not to see political posts, but that doesn't matter. So every once in a while I'll see a completely inappropriate thing, like, is this Facebook or LinkedIn? So yeah, I think LinkedIn is really, it's Facebook, and there's a reason I've stopped using Facebook like 2 years ago now. I think it might be 3 years this summer. It's been a while. So my anti-social media push, I have been proactively moving away from the legacy social media platforms and back towards direct engagement, which means email or even in person. And I do have an occasional phone call or 2 or 3 with different people. I haven't really gone out to meet people in person much over the past about 2 months. I'm kind of busy, and so I'm not totally hermetic, but I was just talking today about hey, we should have a meetup, not a meetup, but I mean like a meetup for a coffee or something. So direct engagement is something you can just do when you want. You don't have to be signed up for a service. You don't have to be following each other. You don't have to be connected. I think LinkedIn has really kind of broken some things there. Some of the motivation comes from the impoopification, as I described. Cory Doctorow describes the kind. It's basically 3 phases. The early adopter. Hey, we're just getting started. Make sure you sign up and grab your same username as you have on all your other platforms. And then phase 2 is we're going to start advertising so we can make money. And then phase 3 is we're going to screw over our advertisers so that we keep all the money. And by then, the users are just an afterthought. Like, oh, are we causing mental illness? Are we damaging the world? Well, we have to move fast and break things. So I'm absolutely not a fan. The book, like I said, The Anxious Generation, probably will be just the presentation of the author Jonathan Haidt speaking about what's in the book has already been a combination of that sucks and yeah, I have seen that. So I cannot imagine it will be a happy read. But yeah, they're upending our personal communications with this stuff in favor of profit. So communicating with people, your friend, I got to use Facebook because my family is on it. Hundreds of thousands, maybe thousands of years of no Facebook, and yet people were able to communicate. In fact, when it was more difficult to communicate, it was more valuable when you did. Something to think about. Not to mention information discovery has suffered when entire news industry is suffering because people are not are reading the headlines on Facebook, and then Facebook says, we're not even going to post the headlines. And they go out of business. Like, people are not reading, they're not seeking out information on their own so much. They're watching a TikTok video, and that is a nightmare of misinformation. they're watching Joe Rogan for some reason or listening. So, social media, that's Spotify, that's YouTube. He was YouTube more. I think he's probably going to end up back on YouTube more. But yeah, I mean, Spotify's okay. You're listening to my version of misinformation right now, so thanks for that. As well, and this is probably it's probably 50-50. I have become disenchanted with needing, I got to post a pic. When I would go to food truck events, I would always, and it wasn't quite for the clout. I actually, I received many compliments from the food truck owners, like, hey, that was a good picture. Several asked me if they could use the pictures in their menus because I was attentive, but they looked organic. They didn't look overly staged, but they were neat. They were thoughtful. They were not the traditional top down, those are so boring. So yeah, I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead, use it for your menu, use it on your truck or on your social media. If you want to mention who took the pic, that'd be fine. That was all I asked for. So, but I never lately, the past several months, and for 2023 leading up to the past several months, really stopped feeling any real desire, need, motivation to take a picture and post it, or to mention where I am, where I'm headed. I only occasionally post a snarky comment about an article link or something. Usually post that on one of my Mastodon accounts. Sometimes I write the post and then I delete it because I'm like, I don't care that much. I don't really get much engagement now and then, but because you got to post in order to get engagement. Otherwise you're not playing the game. So I've really taken that time back, and I would rather do other things. So maybe 10% of the time that I would 10% of the occasions, I guess, not wall clock time. But if I would have posted 100 links over some interval, I might post 10. That could be a week or a month. But yeah, very little. So in the transition, I do have 4 Mastodon accounts. I kind of partition them a little bit. So Fostodon, free open source software. I talk about nerdy stuff there. I have a Medium, medium.com, which I do like. I don't really consider that a social media platform. It's a nice looking blogging / publication platform, and I find really useful articles there. I think it's a really good resource, so I don't really consider that social media. But they did launch me.dm, maybe it is. They have their Mastodon server, so I have an account there. And if I'm going to mention anything political, or those debates were silly, or the court cases, or whatever about local media, I follow Jeff Jarvis on there, so he's always ranting about the New York Times, etc. So by having 4 different, and one of them is Flipboard, by the way, which I haven't really posted to yet, but I do appreciate that Flipboard has jumped into the Activity Pub Fediverse. So I haven't really used that one. I also have a Blue Sky? I have an account. I think I've posted twice. So once they opened it up for general admission, I signed up. My college roommate is following me. I followed him back. That's about it. I think it looks like too much of a Twitter copy. And if you're going to be a Twitter copy, you should at least join the Fediverse. And kudos, I guess, to Instagram. Threads is doing the initial Fediverse integration, so that's nice. And hey, Truth Social is based on Mastodon, for what that's worth. Apparently a couple $1 billion. Yeah. So the open source model works. I still have my Flickr account because I have tons and tons of pictures that are marked private, because I have been using it more as like an archive and organizational tool than I know some people use Flickr as a social network to share photos with little photo groups and stuff. I never really spent the time on that. I do I do think that Flickr could have been Instagram. I think Flickr could have found that success. Their tools are better. They could have not broken the internet. So it's too bad when SmugMug bought them, they didn't really fix some of the problems that where Flickr had fallen behind a little bit on just basic usability. Just the fact that you cannot really, you can actually. There's a whole API. The existing Flickr application for your mobile device does not really let you fine grain decide which photos get automatically updated. So, like, I don't need my screenshots uploaded to Flickr, right? So things like that. So I contacted Flickr and said, hey, why don't you just release the source code for the app and then people can mess with it? And they're like, what does that even mean? So that was disappointing, but I still have my Flickr account, so that's fine. And like I said, so Medium and Flickr are probably the two things that I will keep and make use of, like interactively and ongoing. LinkedIn, I continue to maintain for the social graph, for the network, but not for I don't want any LinkedIn DMs. I basically ignore that, and I really don't post there anymore, and I don't engage much material. A little bit. If I see something, I skim through it every once in a while to see what's going on, because unfortunately people still post only on LinkedIn, and unfortunately some of those things are interesting from a career standpoint, but this too shall pass. The age of must post is over for me. I don't feel the need to post on any of these platforms. Again, Flickr, I don't post for others, so I use it as more of a personal tool. I mean, one of these days I'll sort of sort some photos that I would make public, and if people want to interact with them, that's fine. I don't seek that out though. I think it's an interesting platform for the map and the some of the other tools they have for sorting and organizing the groups and albums and all that. I find it useful, and it's a nice way to store the photos that I want to keep in a way that I can actually get to them. Google Photos is doing too much on its own. That comes with the Android, so that's fine. But I don't really use the sharing features of that either so much, if at all. So yeah, Flickr, Medium I use all the time, but mostly reading. I should write more. It's one of those things I have been putting off. And that's about it. I don't feel the need to post, though. I don't feel like I got to post so I get the ranking and the algorithm's favor, and so I get attention. No, tired. Don't need it. Don't want it. I would rather take utility where I find it. And if I have some reason to post something, great. Otherwise, I would rather spend that energy on doing other things, which I have. So what comes next? As I mentioned, I reach out to people directly. I'll flip through LinkedIn, and if I see someone I haven't talked to in a while, if they happen to be, they've made a post of some sort or they've liked something, because that's how the algorithm works, I'll see if I have their email address. If it's on LinkedIn, great. And I will send them an email, and I will remind them that I don't use LinkedIn anymore. So reaching out in person, if I hear back from them, great. Probably like a 25% response rate, give or take. So that's fine. That's about right. So yeah, the LinkedIn network graph will be used for that. I have invited people to connect on LinkedIn, but I tell them immediately, like, this is for the connection. You have my contact info. You can see some of the other people we both know. That's reasonably valuable sometimes, but don't DM me. Don't tag me in things, because I'm just not going to make use of those. And I'm sure I sound like I'm being like a diva or something. I'm too cool to use LinkedIn, but I'm really just too tired. I'm tired of the way it works. I'm tired of the AI that they're dumping on everything. The algorithm is horrible. The rule, here's how you get ranked, and make sure you post 5 times a day with the keywords and the picture and just be natural and organic and do your thing. I've linked above. I'm a firm believer in the posse approach. I've been talking about it for too long, so I'm trying to walk the walk. So the Medium posting would be a nice return to just writing some stuff. I've done a couple of little article series on keto diet, keto lifestyle, I guess, which I should be more in tune with than I have been. Really, really requires the exercise component for me. That works for me. One of the reasons I wrote that was so I would not have to deal with, you know what you should do, and I would always stop people and say, I've written about it. You can read it if you want. But I think it's kind of interesting. I can flip through and remind myself of what worked and what didn't and all that, and I can tell others as well. I had another section on universal basic income, just thinking out loud about that, and a couple of other things. So that would be a nice transition. But I do own a variety of domains. The classic, I will register that domain and then a few years later get around to doing something with it. So I still have my name. I use reallycool.com, but I don't have a website for it lately. I've had the email address since 1996, and I've had various versions of the website. You can go to the Internet Archive while it's still around and check out the old versions of reallycool.com. I've tried experimental things like a web desktop type thing and some other ideas. So I used to use it as like a little playground, but I need to post stuff there, if for no other reason than to integrate into the eventual MyMuni platform, which Innovate for Vegas Foundation is working on right now, as we speak. So it will fit into the matrix that is part of that design. So Posse, publish on your own servers. So own your content, own your domain, get a WordPress site, a Wix site or something. It can be done. Post on Twitter or Facebook or elsewhere. Post links, not original content. If you end up in Facebook jail, or if Twitter/X or whatever it's called nowadays, it cancels you, or if they decide to charge you money, both of those platforms, and Instagram, certainly, Facebook, Twitter, the new cool is to, hey, find us on Facebook. You get to the link and, you got to sign in. You got to sign up or sign in. Like, okay. So they've just thrown a roadblock. And if you're trying to do business, if your business presence is based on a Facebook profile page, like a business page, they've just made it a little bit more difficult for you to interact with a new customer that doesn't use Facebook. So for example, it could be Twitter, it could be Instagram, could be TikTok does this as well. So you don't have the app installed, you're not signed in, you got to sign up. You gotta, even if you're using the web client, you can see the first video that was linked directly or embedded. But if you want to see anything else, you gotta install the app. So I'm not a fan. There are many projects floating around now that are pointing towards decentralization. That doesn't sound right. They're pointing away from centralization. How about that? They're using federated models of information sharing. So the Fediverse, which ActivityPub is the most current powering method, I guess. ActivityPub is a way of sharing activity streams. Activity streams have been around for a while, so it's okay. We'll see how it goes eventually. The Blue Sky stuff is using their own type of protocol, so they will either come around because ActivityPub is already everywhere. There's an Instagram-like platform called Pixel something. I can't remember what it is. Pixel something. And there's a Reddit type thing called Lenny. And there's a YouTube thing called PeerTube. These are all ActivityPub enabled, so you can follow you can follow a PeerTube account from your Mastodon account, and you'll see their posts. You can follow the Pixel. What is it called? Pixel something. You can follow them, and you can see their photos. You don't have to sign up for. The future is going to be handing back control to the people. That sounds revolutionary, but it's really just. Remember back when the internet first started, when it was the new thing in town, when it was the Wild Wild West? And people would just put up a web page and they would send a link to somebody and you could share it with people. And there was no corporate control. And I'm not saying I'm not strictly anti-corporate control. But what I am saying is that there was a lot more room to experiment, to try things, to test out new ideas, to share the content that you want. Oh, I want to move all my content to a new server. Okay. First, you got to figure out how to export your data from Google, and that's a process. And I don't know if you've ever tried to export your data from Facebook or any of these services. They basically give you a zip file with, I think Facebook just dumps out an entire tree of HTML and images and stuff. So you're like, oh, okay, I can browse it with my browser in a file system. So you can do file URLs and you can see your stuff. But what am I supposed to do? Can I import this somewhere else? Well, yeah, maybe. Good luck. It's all on you. So if you own your own content in the first place and you can link to it, then like, okay, I have the database, I have the tools, and I shared links to all these places. I want to move my entire online presence to a different place. You pack it up and move it. You don't have to import and export and figure out which goes where and all the URL. The magic of DNS, the links will still work when you move to your new home. Yeah. Why would you want to do anything else? There are many, like I said, there are many projects. So if you see an opportunity to try out the Pixel thing, I'm going to pause and look this up. This is really bothering me. All right, we're back. Pixel Fed. Pixel, Pixel Fed, Pixel Fed. So federated pixels. So if you come across, you can try Mastodon. And here's the funny part. Everybody gets very confused. Oh, Fed, it's so difficult. I don't understand. There's too many. I don't like Mastodon because there's nobody using it. Well, there are hundreds or thousands. I don't even know. There's somewhere you can find this information. Many servers. So if you're on a Mastodon server with 4 people, nobody's using Mastodon. But if you're on a Mastodon server with like 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000, well, now you don't get overwhelmed with like 40 million followers. What you end up with is the ability to have a few accounts and separate your focus and who you're following, and you can partition your engagements and your interactions. Some servers are going to be a little bit more loopy. Some will be a little bit more topical, so they can have their own character. Another thing was people are confused by the naming. Like, I just want to follow at my handle. I want to follow at... I don't know who to think. I want to follow at Taylor Swift. But now I got to figure out at Taylor Swift at server name. Like, oh, that's too many ats. Like, well, okay. Some people have at Gmail. Some people have at company name. Some people have at Yahoo. Some people have at Outlook. Some people have at Hotmail. I think that's still around. There are many, and you can have your own mail server, right? You can have your own Mastodon server. So we've been using username at server domain name for decades. But if you throw one at symbol in the front, like, oh, can't do it, can't handle it, too confusing. So I don't buy that argument. I think it's a new thing and it's just similar enough to the old thing that it's still usable and it's actually not as confusing as people think. You just have to actually go, oh, wait, I do understand this. I literally just used the analogy for something else. If you've ever seen the movie The Abyss, and they have the fluorocarbon for breathing, deep water, high pressure breathing, they show the rat demonstration. They put the rat in the fluorocarbon under a little cage so the rat can breathe the liquid. And he's like, oh, we all know how to do, your body will remember. We breathe liquid for 9 months, and then so the rat remembers. All you have to do is stop struggling and say, oh, wait, Mastodon, Pixel Fed, Lenny, the WordPress plugin for ActivityPub support, PeerTube. The list goes on. The list is growing. These are different, but not that much. If I just take a deep breath and remember that there was a time when I had no idea how Twitter worked, you will remember. And then try out some new things. And the return to the Wild Wild West that was Internet 1.0, Web 1.0, was not the awful mess that everybody remembered. It was a mess. There was some messiness, but part of it was that it was highly experimental. People could try out new ideas. Web 2.0 introduced 2 things. One was more interactivity, more JavaScript and pages, more Ajax and Comet. So you'd have 2-way communications asynchronously. update parts of web pages without full page loads, all this cool interactivity, usability, etc. But the other thing was like, oh, instead of you doing stuff, we will create these cool platforms and we'll do the work for you. That'll be phase one. We'll do it all for free. And then phase two, we'll make tons of money on your eyeballs. And phase three, we'll screw over everybody and get rich. And yeah, so Web 2.0 didn't turn out as great as everybody thinks. That's one of the reasons I've kind of turned my back on that. And I'm looking back, not ahead to Web 3, although Web 3.0 is fine. And we'll get into that in the next section. So yeah, check out these new projects. Give it a try. You can sign up on most servers. Give them a try. See what happens. And the crazy part, remember I said we used to just go, oh, there's a new platform, XYZ. Oh, that's a whole top level domain now. Orkut. Let's go sign up on Orkut. I got to get Dan Hugo on Orkut. Well, now you can join a server and you can have your username. Somebody else could be the same username I have, but on a different machine, on a different server. And that's fine. That's how email works. So it's not too far away from email. The whole notion of addressing in the Fediverse, it's a lot like email. Two people can have the same exact username, but on Outlook versus Gmail, they're two different people. It all works. So what about this Web 3.0? I've been researching the old semantic web from like 20 years ago, and it was a way to automate and manipulate and maintain a network of information, data points. They used resource description framework and the web ontology language, or OWL. You switch the O and the W. So this was all designed 20 years ago. So now I'm looking at it for connecting a network of civic volunteer organizations, the organizations themselves, the contributors that are a part of those organizations, or loosely or tightly coupled to them, and then the projects across the country that they're working on, maybe the world, maybe the whole world. Since Code for America sort of screwed up and screwed over the brigades all over the country at the end of 2023. They warned them, but yeah, they're done. So how do you connect projects? So the old ways sprang up, like I said, it was the early 2000s, so like 2004, 2009, somewhere in there. I'm thinking of DOPE, for example, a description of a project, DOAP. So between RDF and OWL, there were a variety of different ways of connecting data using the semantic web, which was like, oh, let me have a subject and a predicate and an object, I think it is, the RDF triple. So we can connect different pieces of information in useful ways with different data types and structure. So it's a little bit more rigorous than XML. It's much more rigorous than HTML. There's a lot of standard tools. I literally, this morning or yesterday, I think, I converted between Turtle, TTL, and RDF, or RDF/XML for a DOPE file. So I can make sure it validated across both, so we can author and publish our description of a project, and then we can spider them and discover other organizations without having to report in to a central authority. So we don't even have to federate. We really just have to say, here's the dope.rdf file at the root of my GitHub repository, or I'll stick it on the root of my website, just like a fave icon, just like your where your style sheet, your RSS feed. So there's a whole infrastructure in HTML that allows you to point to different structured elements. There's also the well-known directory, .well-known. So there's a few things that go on behind the scenes that make this stuff possible, but everybody thinks, well, it's got to have a JavaScript front end in Vue or Svelte or React. That's the only way to go. Like, there are old ways that really do work. And we've reinvented so many new ways that maybe don't as well. So we can automatically link up and find each other and identify contributors and volunteer prospects that might want to help out with other projects and stuff. And then rather than using Discord and pinging dead websites, which I've actually seen recently for this Civic Volunteer Network, why do we spend that time personally, individually, human being, seeking out connection. Like, what does the network look like? Well, let me go visit these websites and see if they're still up. Let me see who's on the Discord server. What you can do, and RSS does kind of work this way. Here's my podcast. Here's my audio program. Here it is on Spotify. Now it's on Podcast Index. Now it's on iTunes. Now it's in Amazon Music. Now it's on what are some of? There are a few others. I mean, there are a few others that actively engage or are connected with Spotify, but there are countless places that your RSS feed can be duplicated. So you don't even have to do this. Your podcast might be ending up in who knows where, Libsyn. The list goes on. So the notion is, rather than a person doing this human labor to try to find information, I'm going to fill in my dope record for each of our projects. So we have 19 repositories. So I'll do 19 dope files. Easier than it sounds. They're all mostly, they differ by like 5 lines or something. So I can create dope files for all of our projects. And then we can start spidering. We'll use FOF to connect groups. So I could say, let me get the FOF records. Let me go to innovateforvegas.org/fof.rdf. I'll pull down the friend of a friend. Who are the other friends of the Innovate for Vegas Foundation? Open Fresno and Code for America. So we can go read there. openfresno.org/fof.rdf. There's a couple more. And so you build up a little triple database, maybe Sparkle query it, and then you can say, okay, let's go find their projects. So you go, maybe they're using GitHub or GitLab or BitKeeper or Bitbucket or what else? There's a few others. Maybe they're still using Subversion, who knows? So you go and you find their projects and you can index those and you come up with a little package of like a Sparkle database of triples that you can start finding projects and start querying their issue databases, because you can link to each one each project can have an issue database, at least one. So then you can go query for open issues and figure out which projects are in search of help. And then if I'm a civic volunteer with some time on my hands, I might say, let me go see who's in need. So instead of having to sign up for catalog services or let me advertise that we need somebody to join our project, just update my dope file, and if I have open issues, we can spider those and pick them up and share them. So now we don't have to do social networking so much. We can focus on the task at hand and use the computers to do that work for us using structured semantic data. Look at that. And the Fediverse can work in a similar way. So the Fediverse can enable us to communicate across services. We don't have to sign up for things. We don't have to worry that we are following the right people to share information, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's how that possibility is unfolding. You can make your own rules. Being canceled, multi-day suspensions, account closures, businesses shutting down, or they change their terms often if you're a Twitch person. Right out from under you sometimes. This is only possible because people stopped being responsible and reasonable for their own internet presence. So sure, if you're hosting on a cloud service, although before the cloud, you'd actually have to get an account on Netcom or Best, which I did, or wherever. You get your internet service provider, you get some sort of hosting, or you do what I did for a long time and host sites on your home computer, on your network, when they would allow you to open ports. But now there's all kinds of ways around that. So where there's a will, there's a way. The internet finds a way, right? So you can be responsible for your own content. You can own your own content. You can publish on your own servers and then share that information, publish it for others to consume. However, you control that stuff. If people want to block you at that point, that's more work. You must be doing something really offensive at that point. There were sites back in the day like Delicious, which had a ridiculous spelling. It was del.icio.us, but Delicious Bookmarks, which I think Yahoo bought, and then it turned into delicious.com. Social bookmarks. You could bookmark a site, share it on Delicious, tag it. Other people could tag it, and you'd start to see aggregate like, oh, this bookmark has been shared by 1,000 people and it has 50 tags on it, whatever. So great. So you're not forcing people to sign up for a Facebook account to share things on the news feed, which I guess used to be called the wall, right? You can just find bookmarks shared, and nowadays you wouldn't even have to do it on a single centralized service. You can do it in any number of ways. Sharing bookmarks should be easy if people still save bookmarks. I can't even tell you how many millions of bookmarks I have. And I actually have a tool that I'm working on for myself called Bookmarky Mark to try to manage my massive piles of bookmarks. RSS was basically invented to make self-syndication a snap. It was invented at Netscape initially. Dave Weiner did a lot of seminal work and kind of owns the spec for it. Really simple syndication is one interpretation of the abbreviation. There's the Atom standard, which was a reimagining, but same idea. You should be able to share your content in small bites so that back in the old dial-up internet days, you wouldn't take down servers by pulling down large pages with images. That you just get a quick syndication that would fan out. Remember there was a FeedBurner, similar sites like that, just like RSS feeds. Just like podcasts, your site syndication could be reshared. We could do the same thing with those dope and faux files, et cetera, et cetera. So you are decentralizing yourself and everything points back to you. So they'll always be able to figure out where the original is and where that enclosure is in your RSS file. Where's that audio program file? Where's that MP3? Oh, there it is. And YouTube has RSS feeds. Did you know that? They really don't advertise it, but I think they're default on, but they might be default off. I can't remember. But if you enable, or if they are enabled for your YouTube account, your videos can appear in an RSS feed and people can find them that way. No longer are you a slave to the, if you don't mind me using that term, to the YouTube recommended page. You can follow your own channels with your RSS tools and go from there. We need to take some online presence, or we need to take it seriously. We need to have online presence and take that seriously. We should own our content and our presence and do so diligently. I should be able to bookmark your stuff. I shouldn't have to figure out where your Instagram, and you know what, I've been seeing this a lot. Influencers here in Vegas, they will post like a jump cut video. Some people are getting back to the normal organic stuff, which is better. A little jump cut video of like the top 5 restaurants you should, and you're like, but what are the names? And you have to go and see if they've tagged the restaurant or the whatever place it is. It could be a bar, it could be whatever it is. Store, retail store. Did they tag them? Well, they got to have an Instagram account. They don't list the places. Like often in a YouTube video description, they'll list the items that they're going to mention, often with affiliate links pointed to them. But because Instagram has broken the internet, which I will get to in a moment, they make it difficult. I should always be able to bookmark or refer to something. URL, it's right in the name, the Uniform Resource Locator. It's created in such ways you should be able to use it somewhere and point to somewhere else and not say, oh, you can't use links except for in these 2 places in the Instagram presentation structure per post. Instagram has broken the internet. So you should be able to control that. You should be able to post your content so that people can bookmark it, so you can put bookmarks or any other content you want where you want it. You shouldn't have to create, just like my Buy Me a Coffee profile page, they really could improve the editor and the look of the profile pages. The editor experience doesn't match up with the output in a couple of cases. That's why I have some of the separator stuff that I have on there, because I can't get it to do even the most simple things, and they've spent no time on it. So that is the topic of the FFS audio program, or FFS talk program this week, is why do good if good enough will do? So it kind of works. That's good enough. You should be able to share those bookmarks without forcing people to log in. That's my number one. Now you can have private sections. Like, okay, on my website, I might want to have a family section, so it's limited to the close family or family and friends or whatever. That's different. But if I'm going to share a link, if I'm going to send something in an email, or if I want to post it on a social media platform, hey, here's the thing in Facebook. Or what I really don't care for is Google News will have articles that are, you can click on it, like, oh, I want to read that. Paywall. Like, okay. I don't want to read it that much. Like Forbes. Like, Forbes is interesting, but I'm not going to pay. I'm not that interested in Forbes. So I'd like to be able to control what shows up in that feed more in a more granular way. Some of those links could very easily, and this happens with Daily Dev. They'll have links to things that now you have to sign up. You have to sign in. You have to be registered. You have to be following. It's members only. Unfortunately, Medium has the members only features, so it's getting to be a little bit more popular. That is a personal decision. It's one that you should be able to make, not the platform that you are publishing to. So if you can publish your own platform, you make those rules and you decide. And if you want everybody to be able to see your picture, your video, your written word, production near a street, you should be able to control that. So that's one of my minor gripes, although it should be a general concern for the future of the internet. You should not be hiding every single thing behind a requirement that you sign up, or that you are following the right people, or that you're being followed by the correct people, etc. So there are still a few things hanging on. Live video streaming is a bit more complicated. It's not something you can throw together like a Wix personal website. Can't set up a WordPress site for your personal blog or e-commerce site. E-commerce itself can be very complicated, hence Shopify. So some of these tools are purpose-built. They've taken a lot of the actual heavy lifting hassle and centralized it. So there are some things like live video streaming that will remain a service that you must deal with externally for the near term at least. You should be able to retain your final video though. So if you create a video stream and you have guests or you have live chat, you should be able to capture all that stuff and export it just like the Facebook hassle, but you should be able to get these things in some standard way or some way that can be easily imported or moved around. You should be able to retain these things without the concern that you'll be kicked. I mean, there are too many cases, not with me, as far as I know, but too many cases of, I got kicked off YouTube and I lost all my subscribers. I don't have any way of contacting him anymore. And all those videos are gone and all this, I don't even know how that goes. That must be, it's either heart-wrenching or a major hassle to get your content to export it or however, but I don't know. I don't know what they allow or enable or whatever. You should always, if you want to keep your content later, you should keep it now. So as soon as you're done with your live stream, export that stuff. You probably don't run your own email server. I have. It's not that hard, but it is something to deal with. So technically this is still a third and perhaps a fourth party because you each might have separate email services. You might, 86% Gmail usage in the world. So you're probably both on Gmail, but that really should change. Google has taken over too much of email. I think it's unhealthy. They have too much control over whether your email gets through. Your mail transfer agent, whether it's Google Gmail or Outlook or whatever, the transfer agents could be something that you control, but certainly should not all be controlled by one big company. And our mail user agent should be our own. You should be able to choose the mail client, perhaps, that you like. Maybe it's a web client. Maybe it's I use Thunderbird, which is Firefox product based on the mail news feature of the old Netscape browser. I was at Netscape when we were developing that. Good times. So you should be able to decide those things, and you can. Platforms like Matrix, which is an open source, completely decentralized chat platform, could very easily be used for email-like, end-to-end encrypted, self-hosted messaging. So at that point, email and messaging and chat rooms are a little bit closer together. I don't see email going away anytime soon. Email, for what it does it pretty well. There are things that it doesn't do well. That's fine. But those who believe that email should go away are not aware of the shoulders upon which they stand. So direct person-to-person messaging, end-to-end encrypted, chat room style exists with a platform like Matrix, which you can host yourself. There are others like Telegram and Signal. There's, of course, WhatsApp, which has its Facebook problems. But these are things that you're probably not going to get away from in the near term. But the ability to use your own mail server or to use the mail server of your choosing and the mail client tools of your choosing is valuable. And I would very much love to see Gmail I have multiple Google Gmail accounts, but you should always have options. You should be able to make those decisions for yourself and not feel as though there can be only one. There are sites like WordPress and Wix and Squarespace and others that you can build your own web presence on. They are somewhat hands-off. You can't just do your complete thing. You can't build your own adult website or your own, can't do only Dan's on there. But you can certainly have your online presence, and you can link to things, and you can export your content. And if you own your own domain, you can move your domain and your content to wherever you want. It can be WordPress, or you can put it somewhere else. The mapping of things is a little bit tricky because of the way URLs work, but it can be done depending on how much effort you want to put into owning your own content. Some people are not going to care. They just want to post their memes. They just want to get their likes. That may not go away. Now that the cat is out of the bag, now that the Pandora's box is open, now that the monkeys are out of the barrel, the worms are out of the can, I could go on. There will be people who use those things. And there might be people still using MySpace for all I know. I still have a MySpace account. I've logged into it in the last 2 years. I don't use it, but there may be people that want to hang on for dear life. They've found their home. They're going to age in place. They're going to live in place, I guess, in that Facebook account. Maybe there are people still using AOL. I don't know. Do you still use CompuServe? Maybe. So one day we will all be self-hosting our own home server online presence someday, and we'll get there. Until then, it will be a mixture of old school and older school. I think that would be okay. People I've heard from the youngins, from the Innovate for Vegas Foundation participant pool, whenever it gets above one person, why are we spending time with email? Why don't we just use the blockchain? I actually heard that sentence from someone. It was a he. He did not know about which he spoke. So where can you join in? First, begin the detox and ramp down your use of the big company platforms. It's not that bad. I've been doing it. You can still read them. Like I said, I skim over. I don't really check out Twitter anymore. I skim over one Instagram account. I have a couple for different things. I skim through one mostly because dumb announcements and news are posted there as if it's an actual, it's unfortunate, but there have been multiple occasions in the last 30 days where I see something posted on Instagram, and if you're not careful, if you get a feed refresh at the wrong moment, you'll never find an advertisement again because you can't search for ads. So, that was an ad by Acme. Go to the Acme page. No, there's nothing. So the whole entire model of discovery on Instagram is broken, in my opinion. If you stop proactively contributing to those platforms and consume now and then, ramp yourself off those, it's fine. If you must use them, decide for yourself why. Decide why you must use these platforms. And that might be placing your personal mental health at risk. If it's because my whole family uses this, again, there were times when whole entire families around the world did not have Facebook, and yet they persisted. If at all possible, develop your own online presence. At least start that way. And if you're going to post on the Facebooks and whatnot, post links to your content. Don't post the original on Facebook. Post a link to your post wherever. Could be a picture, could be a video. I mean, like I said, video is tricky. So YouTube, instead of posting video on Facebook, post a link to your video. Maybe it's on YouTube, but maybe it's also shared directly from your Google Drive, or maybe it's shared directly from some other. Like, make sure you own your content and that you are pointing to it rather than handing it over to the Facebooks of the world. They're doing some interesting things with AI, but open sourcing, the llama. But Facebook got to go, in my opinion. You can start emailing your friends rather than direct messages. Why not consider emailing directly? Like, hey, you can contact me without involving LinkedIn or Facebook or any of these platforms. You can just send me an email, or you can call me on the phone. And yes, their phone companies are involved, or email providers, like I said, but at least those are many. It's not one big giant company running the entire thing yet. But if you are able to contact people directly, I'm not using Facebook anymore. That's okay. We can still talk. I'm connected to all the members of my family outside of social media. That works just fine. And it's a good habit to get into. If you do need to chat and you don't want to use a plain old telephony or your cell phone, maybe you want to do a video call, consider trying out Jitsi, Jitsi, rather than Zoom. Jitsi is a free and open source platform. Works pretty well. You could host your own Jitsi and you could do your own video conferencing. Matrix is also going to move in that direction with video. Actually, Matrix and Jitsi used to be integrated. I'm not sure if they still are. The pandemic is mostly over for now. Why not take advantage of this temporary safety and meet in person though? So if you are in the same town, opt for meeting people in person. Don't join don't be in a Discord server or a Slack. Go meet in person. Go be human again. But also get used to human interaction. It's not so bad. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but these are things to think about. I still skim through some Instagram or LinkedIn posts, like I said, and many websites out there, they need to comment, like many websites out there, the need to comment or even like everything I see or experience is not actually necessary. So I don't feel like I gotta, I better like that post. So, no, doesn't matter. When you visit most websites, you don't need to like, you just read it. They have their analytics. They can see who's reading what from where and all that. But some may have a like button or a share or some sort of interface that helps with the engagement that they want to drive. But at the end of the day, I would rather interact with people directly, and I would rather, if someone wants to see my photos, go see them on whatever, Flickr, or if I had a blog, but I shouldn't have to make people follow me or sign up for services just to interact with me. I'm not that cool, although you can buy me a coffee. A note on broken internet sites, and this will wrap up today's episode. Instagram is obnoxious. You are not allowed to create content with links in it. In fact, you can't really create rich content beyond a few possibilities. It'd be cool if they supported Markdown in the caption/comment section. I don't believe they do. Last time I checked, they don't. So if you could create lists, you could have links. You could have like bold and italic and strike through, strike through. And you could do sections. Like you could actually make a little list of like, hey, here are the 10 restaurants we went to. And you can kind of do that with, people do emoji, like a location or camera if you want a list of photographers. So these are not they're not doable, not undoable. They're not doable, but it'd be nice if they actually supported something more than text. And if you could put links more arbitrarily. Of course, they want to turn that into a pay service so that you have to pay to have an ad with the learn more or visit site or whatever. It's just a big monetization scheme. That's the poopification. So I don't know when it started, but they've been requiring people to log in if you want to view more than a couple of photos, if they're embedded or linked from somewhere. I think you have to be logged in if you want to do a search. So just like all the other websites, they're forcing you to be a part of their money scheme to participate. And it's only because people are buying into their model that you have to buy into that model. And so it's unfortunate because then you are stuck with whatever they offer you. And the notion of experimenting, of the wild, wild west, of trying out new ideas and being experimental and creative, well, as long as you do it their way. And even then, maybe not. Online services that are doing these sorts of things are moving you away from what the internet is about. They're moving you and the person trying to engage with you. We should prevent this. We failed there so far. Hopefully we can take it back. Speaking of requiring logged in or signed up viewing, seems to be the new thing on these old platforms, which we're seeing it on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, like I said. Where else? There are more social. Oh, LinkedIn, of course. You have to be signed into LinkedIn to see anything at this point. You can sometimes see people's basic profile, but wouldn't you like to sign in to see the rest of it? Yeah. It's another obstacle between you and someone trying to contact with you or connect with you or your business or trying to find out more information. Hey, I tried to read that link you sent, but it's behind, I have to log in or sign up, or I have to be following you, or I have to be, it just makes it more complicated. And there's like, is it call to action 20% open, 20% quick of that is click through. So you're already down to 4%. If somebody's, and then, okay, I opened your email, I clicked on the link, and now I got to sign up for Facebook. So that's 0. So these are platforms not with your best interests. So why are we continuing to give them? We give, they take. We can flip that around. We really should. A little side note on proliferation. How many accounts do you have? Like I said, I used to sign up for everything to get my name on all the same username on all the platforms. Sometimes successful, sometimes not. But I ended up with tons of accounts, and who knows, hundreds of username, passwords, and all this. When they shut down, when they go south and break, when they get sold off, maybe it's becomes something. Maybe you signed up for Twitter, but now it's X, and you're like, I don't really want to be a part of X. It's not the same as it was, or I'm not really into the new Facebook. I like the old Facebook, whatever. The list goes on. You have to cancel or remove your account, or maybe just stop using it and hope people don't. Like I've seen this on Facebook. I stopped using Facebook, but I still have the accounts because I posted at some point like, hey, I'm not really using this, or I would hope people would look and see, oh, Dan hasn't added anything or done anything for the last 2 years. Maybe he's not using Facebook anymore. But you have to manage the cruft. So the more spread out you are across multiple platforms, if you have a business, you have multiple businesses on multiple platforms, you have to start managing this presence in multiple locations that are not yours. So this makes your brand and your persona something you have to manage on other people's platforms, and they don't care about you. So there's rarely a method in place. So this is the broken internet part. If my website is down, like I am no longer maintaining my website, they'll get a 503 or a 500 error. They'll get a 404 if there's a missing page, or a 404 if it's not found, and 403. Is it 403 that it's permanently deleted, I think? Is it 403? 401. 403 might be permission. I can't remember. Bottom line, there are mechanisms in place to help people realize that, oh, this person's not there, their server's not there, their web presence is no longer present. But when you stop using your LinkedIn account, or if you close it, Facebook or whatever, very difficult to notify people or to have them realize that, oh, they're no longer here. Whatever happened to your... So that connection with people that you'd like to maintain, well, the way to make sure you never leave our site is to make it impossible for you to leave our site. And so I think that breaks the spirit of the internet, which was really, there, like I said, or as I've intimated, there are mechanisms in place. There are 301 and 302 redirects. There are 404 and whatever the other one is. There are server status, 500, 503 or whatever, to indicate that a server is down or failed. Like, come back later, maybe it'll be fixed. And that happens all the time. whatever reason, a server goes down for minutes or hours, put it back up, everything's fine. So the internet is built to be somewhat flexible. It's not perfect, but when you sign yourself over to, and your brand and your presence and your online reachability, when you hand those over to LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, and then you want to, like, hey, I want to go on vacation and tell people, nope, too bad. I'd like to tell people to only send me email. Don't use direct. Nope, sorry. You'll take what we give you and you'll like it, and you'll say nothing. So I think this breaks the fundamental notion of the internet and what it was supposed to be or what it could be. And I'm really hoping that Web 3.0, the semantic web, the kind of return to decentralization, some of the Wild West components, the ability to experiment a little bit, to try out ideas, to own your own content, to syndicate as you like, as you want. I think if we can get that way, if we can move in that direction and get some critical mass going, and if people want to stick around on Facebook, maybe Facebook will come around and make Facebook interoperate with the Fediverse, just like Instagram is trying to, and so on. Some people will stick to their old business models. They're beholden to their shareholders, so they must stick with their broken internet. But we don't have to. And that is my progress in the anti-social effort on which I have embarked. So far, so good. Hopefully our Smart Social MyMuni open data capture platform mega project from the Innovate for Vegas Foundation will start to see some sunlight shining through, see some daylight if you like, but the sunlight will hopefully shine through the blinds in the mornings, early mornings. And once that gets up and running, that should be interesting. That will be entirely, well, mostly, we'll see, but mostly based on sharing content from other places, not so much encouraging placing original content, so much as let's discover content, or let's put information into open data databases so that content that is submitted is actually visible or reachable or usable via the open data mechanisms. So like, hey, I would like to use the information submitted into the open data capture platform to create a map or a table or a calendar. Well, that's what it's there for. So yeah, it should be interesting. Hey, I'd like to find all the podcasters in the greater Vegas area who have created some sort of content about the Sphere or the baseball stadium or the new restaurant or where do I get pizza. Like, we should be able to do those things. And so that's the basic idea. So I would love to see a return to the old ways as the beginning of the new ways. And we can build on that rather than the impoopification that we have been wallowing in for way too long. And I would say, what is it? Come on out. The air is fine. Get out of the water. But, or as the one goldfish said to the other, a goldfish, what's water? So anyway, that's where I will leave it. Don't forget, buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo is usable. I will always keep that page up to date for as long as that platform exists and is at least minimally usable. So it'll always point to the place where you can find my various projects. You are under no obligation to buy me any coffee. And same goes for ko-fi.com/DanHugo, coffee.com/DanHugo, DANHUG. Must be getting late. DANHUGO. No spaces. Dan Hugo, that's me. Thank you for listening. And until next week.